isang masayang linggo sa inyong lahat mga katropa. And welcome to another episode of
Usapang
Usapang
Training
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 at
at
iba
iba
pa.
pa.
Ayan. We are in the middle of our design and development series. So this is the second episode. We're very excited. So salamat sa mga bumabalik and salamat sa mga bagong attendees natin both in Zoom and sa FB. Ayan. So ako po si AM Villaluz, currently serving as Vice President for External Affairs ng PSTD and also a Learning Manager at Vistaprint Manila. Let's have our other katropas introduce themselves. Ayan, Miss Irene.
Hi, thanks AM. Dun sa iba pong nakapanood ng mga dating episodes, ako po ay si Irene Isleta, ay immediate past president of PSTP, a talent development advocate, and currently still with St. Luke's as associate director of the Healthcare Academy. Yon. Okay. So, meron pa ba tayong i-introduce? Ayan. Magbabalik.
Actually, may mga katropa, very various roles tayo today, no? Kasi Ka-tropa Marby, baka you wanna say hi just as part of UTA yan.
Multiple roles tayo for today's video. Hello mga katropa, I'm Marby. And you will hear more of me later on in our topic. But good evening sa ating mga katropa. Marby po, consultant from PREVO Design and Innovation.
Thanks, Marbs. We also have Ed, Pearl, I see Louie. Hello.
Si Louie, oo.
Ayan. And I think habol ba si June? Katropa June. Ayan, oh. Hi, Louie. Miss ka namin.
Andyan si Kevin.
Si Kevin andito rin. So, medyo we're spread throughout. Some will be assisting then with the comments and chat. So, dating gawi, mga katropa. Sige, let's get started kasi sa totoo lang, sobrang excited din ako for today's episode. And as a resource, we have Ka-tropa Marby. And the visionary founder, Chief Design Innovation Officer of PREVO Design X Innovation. You know what? Marby from the start brought kind of this really strong advocacy for design thinking and applying it to the different processes we have in talent development. So today, we'll learn about how to do it specifically when we're designing learning. She will share some strategies and how to kind of put together, the creativity, empathy, and all the components of existing frameworks of training design so that we can really improve yung learner experience and also, of course, the impact to the business. So get ready to gain from the knowledge that she will share, but also you can prepare your questions. Pero bago ang lahat, syempre, mga umaatikabong balita from IPP Irene. Let's go.
Thanks, AM. Siguro nakikita na din nila to sa SOCMED natin. Nat, can you please flash? Sasabihin ko lang, ayan. March 5 to 7, that is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, no? I think, or bukas na siya. Training Facilitation Certification Program by April Salonga. Puno na siya. No? All seats taken. So please, for those who are interested, please wait for our announcement. May schedule naman na po yan. But yun na nga, no, whenever we announce, please make sure that you register kaagad. Okay, and then the next March, ayan, si Marby will be doing the designing e-learning course on March 18, 19, 21. So abangan ninyo yan. I think there are still slots. And if you want to register now, Nat is flashing the QR code for that. And of course, our training fundamentals. Ito mabilis din siya mapuno, no, AM. So on March 25, 26, our speaker, program facilitator, rather Kevin, is here with us tonight. So register now, or you may register your staff for this. And then for our March Tipanan, so mapapansin nyo yung sumusunod yung mga members ng PSTD, no, nag-iiba-iba na po kami ngayon ng venue, di ba? We're partnering with organizations, our members. So for the March 21 Tipanan, it will be at where is this? Ayala, no? Ayala Corporation, 37th floor, Gardens 2. So our our invited guest is Miss Sandra Gala. Okay, so see you there, mga katropa. Di ako sanay na magsabi katropa. Sige, katidi. Ayan, nag-iisip pa ako. Yan. And of course, our president, Ed Ebreo, to do training design certification this April na po, April 16, 17, and 18. Mabilis din to kasi I think, we have emerging talents in training and development, and ito yung isa sa talagang mga skills na gusto nilang malaman, matutunan. So with Ed, register now, or you may register your staff, and then our professional team will work with you on finalizing the registration. Okay? And for now, that's about it. Back to you, AM. Ito, magandang umpisahan na natin kasi baka kulangin na naman tayo ng oras.
Yes, ayan. Dahil na-advance ko na yung introduction ni Marby, she can go ahead into her main presentation bago natin pag-usapan. Yan. Go ahead, Marbs.
All right, thank you, AM. As another exciting topic that we will bring to our katropas this evening. And as AM mentioned, I'm super passionate about, talking about design thinking and talking about the concept of human-centered workplaces. Today we're going to focus on how it applies in the context of learning development and using it in designing learning experiences. So hopefully our katropas will be able to, pick up some new tips and tricks that you could apply in your interventions. Okay, so welcome to the human-centered learning design, and I will share with you how you could use it in designing learning experiences. To be honest, I've been doing training for quite a while already, and baka po nakaka-relate kayo dito. No? When I first had my training, there's always that discussion of understanding the learner. Pero sa totoo lang po, in reality, hindi siya, in my experience, in my experience conducting training, I didn't really see how it's being implemented. Kasi when you're running training, it's the same people. You don't really dwell too much on, on the profiles, etc., the demographics of the learners. No, technically, you're running the training for everyone in the organization. But especially during the pandemic, when we did a lot of digital learning projects, that I think the concept of design thinking is the missing link in not really understanding, how our learning interventions would really appeal to our learners by making it a more learner-centered, approach and the way we deliver it. So that's what we'll be sharing. So first question po, no, before I continue. Kung tatanungin ko po kayo, what would you want your learners to think? Ano yung gusto mong iniisip nila? Ano yung gusto mong nararamdaman nila? Or what are the things that you want for them to say? Or maybe do also? Ano yung mga gusto mong gawin nila as they go through your learning program? So please type your responses in chat. Pero kung ako po, ang sasagot nitong tanong na to, this is what I would want for them to either think, feel, say, or do. Number one, of course, I'm going to spend a lot of time in designing a program. And I particularly want our learners or my learners to feel confident. Okay? Confident na kaya nilang i-apply. Kung ano man ituturo ko sa kanila na technique, na strategy, maa-apply nila yon sa mga challenges nila at work. So that's what what I want for them to feel. Another one is I want learners to think na, uy, excited ako yung learning program na dadaanan ko. Super, super exciting. Grabe. That's what I want for them to think of. When they see, ay, may pinopromote na training program yung L&D, grabe, excited ako dyan. So these are the things that I want for them to feel and things that I want for them to think of when I'm designing a program. Ayan. So how about you? Can you type it in chat? Ano nga po ang gusto nyong ma-feel nila or isipin nila or gawin nila when you are coming up with a program or you delivering a program? Sige, any thoughts? Louie, mahal ang training na design thinking. Madali lang pala ito, according to Louie. Thank you for that. Madali lang pala ito. Ay, ang easy naman pala nito. Dati nagsistruggle ako. Now that I know this technique, kaya ko na itong i-apply sa trabaho ko. Right? So, this is going to make my life easier in my job. Okay? Grace naman says, I want for them to do the action plans. O yung sinabi mo gagawin mo during the training. Mahilig tayo dyan at the end of the training, may pa-action plan. Pero how many of them are really, doing it on the job? Right? So, isn't it great if we think about, what our learners would actually think of, feel whenever they're going through the learning programs. But in many cases, okay, you can disagree with me, but in many cases, we don't really spend time on, understanding what we want for them to feel. Diba? A lot of times when we're designing our training program, we really focus on the methods that we used to do as a trainer. But some may argue, syempre, many practitioners I see are also really focused on, promoting what their learners would feel at the end of the training or do or say. But in many cases, minsan nami-miss out natin yung ganong element. So the question that, we have to start asking ourselves is, yung mga approaches ba natin when we're designing learning programs, are they really appealing to the feelings, to the emotions, diba? To what our learners would really do at the end of our program. So that's what design thinking helps us or guides us in terms of understanding that. Okay, so let me cite here, kasi I've been running design thinking workshops for different organizations, and in one sprint that we did, this is one of the challenges that an organization is going through. Let me know kung nakaka-relate po kayo dito. Mababa yung participation despite the availability of learning programs for employees. Can I see a heart or light reaction or a raise of hand if you are experiencing this too? Yung parang ang baba, ang dami naman naming niraran na training pero parang hindi engaged yung mga tao. Parang hindi naman nila nilo-look forward to yung mga programs. O kaya pag may training, parang di naman sila nagpa-participate. Ano ba yan? Okay? And a lot of times, if we see this kind of scenario, there are things that we'd say na ano ba naman tong mga employees natin, right? Binibigyan mo na nga ng training, ayaw pa, right? But take a look at, if you look at the perspectives of the people who are participating in the programs, and this is actual insights coming from learners, okay, that sometimes we don't see in a training survey. Okay, kasi minsan sa training survey po natin, ang gaganda ng feedback, right? A lot of times, magaganda yung feedback. But these are the insights when we went back to the learners. Bakit ganito? Bakit hindi kayo nagpa-participate in the learning programs? Take a look at what they said. Sabi nila, sabi ng ibang mga sumagot, no? Yung mga programs na niraran ng L&D, hindi naman relevant. Hindi yan relevant sa akin. It's too far from what I am doing on a day-to-day basis. So, ba't ako magpa-participate dyan? Another insight is, parang pare-pareho naman yung niraran ng L&D. Same lang, walang bago, no? Same topic, okay? Another insight that we gathered was, yung mga niraran ng L&D, para naman hindi na-address yung competency ko. Ayan, meron ng clue sa teachers. Yung competency ko as a teacher or as an instructional leader, parang hindi naman niya ina-address yung mga challenges ko at hindi naman niya ako natutulungan mag-grow in terms of my competencies. At the same time, ito pa yung sinabi, no? Parang ang boring naman kasi ng mga L&D programs, parang ayoko nang attendan yan. Uupo lang ako and I will just listen to the discussion. Right? So if you think about it, diba, as instructional designers, as learning designers, as training designers, we spend a lot of time on creating or designing, a program. And then at the end of it, we realize, ay, bakit parang hindi engaging? Right? Because the question is, tinanong ba natin yung mga learners kung ano yung makakapagpa-engage sa kanila, yung makakapagpa-excite sa kanila, makakapagpa-feel confident sa kanila as they go through our programs. Okay? So, I think this is where design thinking really helps out in addressing some of these challenges that we're facing. Of course, you might argue na, baka hindi maganda yung pagkaka-design ng program or hindi magaling yung facilitator. I think those factors can be considered as well. But I think the concept of design thinking really helps us also in focusing on really what matters to the learners. Kasi at the end of the day, learners naman po yung makakapag-decide kung engaging ba yung ating learning. Hindi yung boss natin, hindi yung stakeholder natin. It is the learners who are going through our program. And isa po sa mga concepts ngayon na ginagamit, actually not just in L&D, in fact, the concept of design thinking started in the field of marketing, right? Because you really have to understand your customers, develop products out of those insights, etc., etc. But now it has started to be utilized in different functions of the business, especially in HR, and also in L&D. So siguro quick definition lang po. I'm sure yung iba po dito nakapag undergo na ng training or have heard about design thinking. But design thinking, it's really human-centric. Okay, human-centric that everything that you're going to design for is always going to be about your end user. Okay, and when in this case, the end user is our learner or our trainees. So we're going to design solutions or training programs really based on, our observations according to what we see amongst our learners or what our learners are telling us. Okay, hindi po kung ano yung nasabi sa book, hindi sinabi yung kung ano yung bagong research, but really dwelling on ano ba yung kailangan ng mga learner ko, ano ba yung kailangan kong gawin, i-incorporate sa program ko para ma-address ko yung mga kinakailangan ng mga learners ko. So that kind of mindset really pushes learning and development professionals to really think of how they can be more value-adding sa atin pong mga learners. I'll give you some examples and how we have applied this in our projects at PREVO. But just briefly, siguro explain ko lang po kung ano yung I guess difference ng design thinking on the traditional way of designing our programs, and now that you're going to use design thinking, if you're going to adapt it. By the way, I just want to I just want to clear it na when you're using design thinking naman as a methodology, it doesn't mean naman po to replace, the classic or the usual instructional design methodologies that we're using. For example, ADDIE or of course SAM. Ayan yung mga two popular methods right now. It doesn't mean to replace that, but it aims to complement that so that as you go through the process, you can make sure that you are designing your programs in a very learner-centered way. Okay? So traditionally, ang focus rin kasi, and again, you can argue po, traditionally, ang focus ng pag nagde-design ng training program, may content ka na ba? Anong content natin dyan? Ano yung i-discuss natin dyan? Right? And then you will be provided with what? 100 pages of PowerPoint slides. Ito yung i-run mo dyan, yan yung content natin. Right? Sige, mag-design ka ng program based on that content. Diba? Traditionally, mention ko lang po yung nangyayari, na we're focused on the content. It's very content-driven. And there's really emphasis on delivering predetermined information. Ano yung modules, ano yung topics, ano yung subtopics, yung i-run natin. So with design thinking, it really looks at the learners, okay? Emphasis on ano yung kailangan talaga nila, ano yung needs nila, okay? Ano yung preferences nila. If it's going to be a digital learning, are you going to do it via a mobile phone? I remember meron kaming project, sabi nung isang client, I want to do a digital learning program, whole country, okay? Whole country. Very big ask, di ba po? Okay, so wow, exciting, sounds promising. Digital learning accessible to anyone in the Philippines. And then when we did our analysis, or when we need our learner profile analysis, it turns out na yung ibang mga participants namin, wala namang internet. So even if you're saying na you're doing this 100% digital, yung learner mo naman hindi makaka-access ng course. So paano yun, right? So it really looks at preferences. Paano nila gustong matuto? Ano yung makakapagpa-excite sa kanila? Ano yung makakapagpa-engage sa kanila? Right? So those are the things that you would consider when you're using design thinking. In the development process naman po, si Adi kasi, medyo linear siya, right? So you do your analysis. After that, you do your design, you deliver, you develop, you implement, and then you evaluate. With design thinking, medyo applicable siya dun sa SAM na method, no? But more iterative kasi sa design thinking. So as every phase, for example, when we're doing digital, especially for digital learning projects, at every phase, lagi kaming may approval. So approval sa side ng learner, sa side ng stakeholder. And then if there are comments, balik kami sa drawing board. So it's very iterative in terms of the process when you are using design thinking. And so good just to cite some examples. So for example, we had a project with the International Labor Organization. So they sponsored a course and ang tina-target niya, business leaders and HR practitioners who need to be equipped with knowledge on employment relations, industrial and employment relations. So what we did was we studied the learners. Okay, syempre, pagka ikaw ay HR or ER officer or being in HR, ano yung makakapagpa-feel confident sa'yo in applying these concepts? Because if you've studied industrial relations or employment relations, you know na napaka-serious nitong topic na to. Diba? It's so boring, it's so dry, okay? Kung gagawin mo siyang program, just ko inantok na talaga yung mga learners mo. And traditionally, this is run by experts, lawyers, mga matatagal na ng mga senior leaders on organizations. And I personally can relate to this because I attended an industrial relations program with the university, very lecture type. Diba? You can't argue yung credibility ng speaker. But for me, hirap na hirap ako to feel confident on how I can apply that on my job. So when we developed this, because we took the time to understand our learners, talagang ginamitan natin ng iba't ibang ways for them to apply it. Like we had cases, we had case simulations where they could apply the concepts. Very little on the concepts, more of the application of that in a workplace setting. So nag-gather kami ng different cases na nangyayari in the workplace so that whilst going through the program, alam na nila kung saang iba't ibang scenario itong mag-apply. Another example, we had the project with one of the, I guess, biggest conglomerates in the Philippines, and we helped them in their sustainability program. And again, another topic na masyado pang malalim or a very, hindi siya ganun ka-tangible na topic eh. While everyone is talking about sustainability, pero paano nga ba yan nagmamatter sa'yo? As an employee, yung concept ng sustainability. So what we did was we tried to understand who are going to take the course. Okay? So we made it sure that ang theme na ginawa namin in the program was as the learners go through the concept of sustainability in the workplace, we wanted to make them feel that they are a part of the journey. So the way we designed the program is a very journey-based approach. Like you could decide kung saan muna yung ita-take mo. It is a different learning path, no, and it's also personal. Like all throughout the program, tinatanong siya, kinukuhaan siya ng insights para maramdaman niya na it's really a part of her personal journey, participating in the sustainability initiative of the organization. Kasi when we also look at we worked on 2 big sustainability programs, no, and so you're not going to talk about the reporting. For example, if you're going to talk about sustainability reporting, medyo malalim na topic siya. For someone, for example, a cashier, or someone na staff in a retail store. Okay, so masyadong malalim yung concept. So we wanted to make sure that these concepts are going to be relatable and very practical. So yan, ginawa namin siya ng way to make it like a journey and making them feel that they belong in the initiative. Okay. At the same time, ito rin, we had the project and there's occupational health and safety officers naman yung target nitong program na to, where the where the officers definitely need to complete steps para ma-complete nila yung intervention na to dun sa program nila. So here in this program, we really made sure that they are guided step by step, and meron din kasi inintroduce na system yung company, no? So they were given step by step procedure. Ano yung mga tools, templates, what other organizations are doing, ito na yung gawin mo, so that you could execute that in your workplace. Therefore, making it easier for them, instead of just talking about the concept of, reducing tuberculosis in the company, right? That's ang hirap nun, hindi siya ganun ka-tangible. But if you give them those experiences that will make it easier for them to apply it on a job, then mas magiging engaging po yung ating mga programs. Okay? I guess just to summarize this slide, design thinking guides designers. So that's us being training designers to have a more learner-centered focus versus content focus, no? Imagine niyo kung puro concept about industrial relations, puro concept about sustainability, puro concept on TB-free initiative, ay baka po talagang hindi na umattend yung ating mga learners. Okay? Okay, konti na lang po yung time ko. So anyway, so here at PREVO, we follow our own human-centered innovation process. Okay, so it has these 5 phases. So first is we discover. This is where we do empathy mapping, user journey mapping. Yan. Diba? Kailangan alam mo yung ano yung pagdadaanan nila, ano yung pain points nila. Kasi sometimes we assume na yun yung pain point nila, pero in reality ito nakita na namin to, like na-experience ko na to. Sabi nila ito daw yung problem, pero when we went back to the end users, hindi yun yung problem, right? So this is where we do that. So as you can see in the process itself pa lang, talagang didikdikin nyo na po kung ano yung problema from the side of your end users. Okay, then we try to find opportunities, then we come up with different solutions, ideas together in a very collaborative approach. We develop a prototype in the visualization phase, and then we evolve that based on the feedback. Okay, and then ang kagandahan na to, at every phase, pwede kang bumalik kasi nga it allows you to get feedback from your stakeholders from time to time. So it's really iterative. Okay? Now, meron lang akong siguro just a quick view of how this complements yung atin pong ADI model. Kasi I think one of the challenges if you're going to apply design thinking in your method now as a designer is saan siya papasok, right? Saan siya papasok in your current process? So pwede siyang pumasok in all phases of the ADI model, but definitely merong tools that you could use in any of the phases. Okay, so for example, in the analysis part, where you gather information about the learners, the needs, the context of the training, the gaps, di ba po? So dito mo pwedeng gamitin or gawin yung tinatawag na empathy interviews, observations, surveys, so that you could understand your learners' needs. In the design part naman, where you develop the learning objectives, dito na yung pwede kayong mag-come up with creative solutions. Ano ba yung gusto nyo talagang ma-achieve together with your learners. In the development phase naman, so this is where we develop the training materials, dito ka na magiging iterative, and this is where you develop your prototype. Okay, so before mo gawin, for example, if it's a digital program, before me create yung buong program, mag-present ka muna ng storyboard. Diba? Ask feedback, and then before ka mag-develop. Okay? And then, of course, sa implementation yan, pwede ka rin, magagamit mo rin yung design thinking so that you could deliver the content in a more engaging and learner-centered way. And of course, at the evaluation phase, balikan mo yung mga na-capture mo during yung empathy interview so that you could, still, use those as insights for continuous development of your program. Okay, so yan lang, very high level on how you could use design thinking. So siguro maraming tools na ginagamit tayo when we're using design thinking. I'm just gonna look at the chat. Feel free to share your thoughts. Yan. So yon, meron po tayong mga iba't ibang tools na pwedeng gamitin when you're using design thinking. But I will just highlight 3 na I think are very, very useful. And if you're going to do design thinking, kahit itong 3 tools, yung gagamitin nyo, yun ang ma-apply mo na siya, okay, in your projects or in your initiatives. Number 1, ito talaga hindi ko talaga to ginagawa before. So maybe ako lang po yung mali. But in my experience, no, hindi talaga, I don't really create, and really dig deep on understanding my learners. Okay? But here, when you're using user persona, when you're creating your user persona, talagang iintindihin mo sila. Okay? So this include demographic information, ano ba, like the gender, the age, saan sila located. Okay? Ano yung mga learning preferences nila? Ano yung goals? Ano yung challenges nila? So this is a project I had with, saan ko nga bang project? Sa dami ng project. This is, I think, with PhilHealth. Okay? So we were creating an online course to promote a new product under the universal healthcare. So this is a new program. So we wanted to get insights from the learners themselves. So yeah, nag-conduct kami ng mga discussions with them. And during this session, dito tinanong namin kung sino ba yung mga learners natin. So dito na-differentiate namin yung target na learners namin. Kasi initially, we were just targeting, LGUs. Pero who specifically sa LGUs yung tatargetin nyo? So we identified 2 learners na talagang magbe-benefit dito sa course na to. Saan sila located? Ito yung example na shinare ko na sabi gawin nating digital program, pero we had one participant in the Visayas region na walang internet. Para magka-internet sila, kailangan nila pumunta sa isang tower dun sa kanilang island and magda-drop sila ng piso just to get the internet. So can you imagine that? How not human-centered that is? If you're going to launch a digital course and kawawa naman yung learner mo, kailangan pumunta sa tower para mag-take ng course. What makes them successful in their job in relation to your programs, ano yung goals nila, ano yung challenges, and ano yung mga learning preferences. Common thing that are being mentioned to us when we're doing digital projects is, Marby, pwede bang short lang yan? Marby, pwede bang simplehan lang natin yung program? Right? So yun yung mga things na kailangan natin i-consider. The method, are you going to do face-to-face? Are you going to do online? Or magko-fully self-paced ka ba? Ano yung device? Ito isang pinaka-critical. So if you're going to design digital courses, ito yung dalawang last na pinaka-importante din. Anong gagamitin nilang device? Gagamit ba sila ng computer, laptop, or cellphone? Because when you develop your materials later on, aalamin mo kung dapat ba mobile-friendly yung iyong materials. Kasi minsan nagkakaroon kami ng projects, gusto digital pero wala naman palang computer ibinibigay sa mga learners. Kawawa naman, diba? So, kailangan, sige, then the mobile phone is an option, pero as a designer, you have to consider that. So, kung mobile yung ginamit ng learner mo, kailangan kita niya lahat siya. Okay, and another thing that you could use is empathy interviews. Very, 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 very powerful. Okay, this is where you eliminate your assumptions when you're doing empathy interviews, because there are things that you could capture from the insights coming from people versus what you see on numbers. Okay, on data, on numbers. So dito nyo yun po gagawin. So this is where you ask them ano yung tingin nila, ano yung sinasabi nila, ano yung ginagawa nila, actual observations actually. Kami minsan nagkakaroon kami ng projects that we see ano yung ginagawa. So doon pa lang makikita mo na ay meron siyang hindi na-click. Ay meron siyang na-miss out na step. So doon pa lang makikita mo na may opportunity for you to look at later on. Yun yung in-include mo sa learning program mo. Okay, ano yung mga what they think about, the context kung ano yung dine-design mo na program and what do they feel about it. And lastly, siguro sa very specific to L&D is your storyboard and your wireframe. Okay, so it's really, really super important that you create your storyboard before you create your programs. Okay, whether it's a face-to-face program or a digital program, makikita rin kasi doon kung ano yung magiging journey ng learner mo. So this is an example of a storyboard that we built for another company, and ito video-based naman to, so very simple lang siya, straightforward. But take a look at how we formulated the content, okay? So this is, again, a sustainability topic, but take a look at how we focus less on the content, but more on the scenarios that are happening in the workplace, so that the learners would know, ay, dito pala applicable tong concept na to ng sustainability versus the very difficult, not naman very difficult, but instead of knowing about the concepts of sustainability na hindi pa ganun ka-tangible for them. even the language, can you see? And if I always talk about this sa mga webinars namin sa PREVO, one of the things that we see as a trend right now in digital programs is people are more looking at more localized programs. Okay, and it would impact the way we put the script. So mas conversation na sometimes would require na Tagalog. Tapos may translation. We did projects na may translation po And meron din kaming projects na gusto nila mas inclusive. So naglagay kami sa isang project namin merong sign language interpreter within the course. So there's a lot. At magagawa lang po natin yan. May isip natin yung different ideas na yon when we truly understand our learners. Okay? And even in your digital learning platforms, I know there's a lot of discussions right now on choosing the learning management systems. But if I may also give my 2 cents on designing the platform, if you're going to get a digital learning platform, make sure that it is intuitive. Because one of the things that we see, pag kami mga clients kami, hindi ayaw na nila ng digital kasi hindi daw ina-access, right? Kasi, and then we look at the platform, it's too complicated. So make sure it's intuitive. Merong learning path, just like what you see here, no? Pwede na lang i-decide kung ano yung ita-take nila at the moment. Pwede silang bibigay ng feedback, their learning efforts are there and they could also view their progress. So quick na lang, last na po ito. Alam ko may mga questions dyan. But let me know if this is human-centered, yes or not. Okay, yes or no. Okay, so the first scenario is a retail company implements a sales training program focused on sales management techniques. The program is developed based on the expertise of sales consultants. Wow, #1 sales consultant in the Philippines ang nag-design. Without input from staff who will practice in the training or participate in the training. Is it human-centered? Is it applying the human-centered practice or not? Okay, man. Definitely not po. I mean, of course, it's good to bring in experts in your training programs. But unless we really hear it from the pain points of your people, then that's the only time we could call it a human-centered program. Not addressing the specific needs. Last one. Software company conducts a usability testing with beta users to gather feedback on its new employee training. So digital kasi new employee training nila. So they wanted to test kung usable ba itong platform na to. So nag-iterate sila based on the feedback and kung ano yung sinabi ng learners, yun yung ina-add nila na features dun sa program. So is it a yes or a no? Probably more yes. Louis, yes. Joseph, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so yes, it is human-centered. Obviously, in the whole process, the learners were considered. Okay, so there. And I just want to leave it at this, end with this quote. According to Steve Jobs, design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works. So we want to make sure that our programs are working and it's not us who's going to decide on that. It's our learners. And with that, I'll give it back to AM. Maraming salamat po.
All right, thank you, Marby. I know we went a little over mga katropa, pero maganda kasi yung coverage, no, ni Marby ng incorporation of design thinking into our design of training. Sige, yes, marami ng mga questions. I'll sort through them. No, one is maybe afterwards, if you have some resources, you can share like books or articles. We can even post it in Viber, like one PSTD community. Kasi I think yun yung question ng ating katropang si Pearl. All right. Also, PREVO offers design thinking workshops. Hindi pa po ito available sa calendar ng PSTD. I'm getting some inquiries, direct inquiries dito. Kevin also shared a resource. Sige, from Miggy, his question is, when we're looking at the different models, which is the one that's most rewarding to use? Is it SAM? Is it CAMP? Or is it design thinking? Are there specific scenarios na mag-benefit from using specific models?
Yeah, thank you for that, Abe. Ako, for me, like my personal approach is I use ADI and I use design thinking. I combine them both. Those are, I guess, my winning methods and a method that has won projects as well. In the joke. I mean, because it's very I think as a method you want to have a guide, right? If you're a training designer, so I think in terms of a flow in your work process, I think the ADDIE model really serves its purpose. But there are some gaps that the ADDIE model in terms of its flow na merong parang gap. Like for example, in the analysis part, a lot of times nandun tayo, looking at data, right? But
Mhm.
na minsan nawawalang human element when we're
Yes.
doing this analysis, DNA, etc. So doon ako nag-i-insert ng we're identifying o sino ba yung users. Kaya you know what's funny? Whenever we get hired to do projects for, especially for digital learning, and you ask your stakeholders, sino ba yung learner? Basta
Mhm.
yung mga nasa gantong position. But I wanna dig deeper on sino. Like,
Right.
describe them to me. Describe your typical learner. I wanna
Right.
ask my, my clients, and doon pa lang talaga magbe-base kami on what kind of the next steps that we're gonna do. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think ADDIE
Thank
and
you,
design
Marbs.
thinking combine them.
I think, the main argument lang for ADDIE against ADDIE is that it's linear. Pero if you're incorporating design thinking principles, it can really help you again with the two, especially sa analysis piece nga, di ba? Yun yung sabi mo, dun heavy yung pag-incorporate ng design thinking principles. And I know Ed also alluded to this in chat. If you're analyzing, looking at the data, it's only one component. So, Miggy, no, depende sa use ninyo, sa need ninyo in the organization, depende sa culture ninyo also. There are frameworks that are more suitable to specific
Yeah.
learning cultures, no? Some, if mabilisan kayo lagi,
Oh yeah,
siguro,
that's
no?
true.
Yeah.
Agree.
Si Camp, if it's really a massive, multi-layered kind of program, and if you really want to anchor it on design thinking, though we will really what you call this, recommend, no, na nakaangkla siya sa isang or as and a design framework incorporating design thinking. Pero if you also think of design thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marvin, no, it's about really creative solutioning if there are any complex problems or challenges. So, Miggy, I hope that answers your question in terms of what kinds of scenarios or models you should use. And IPP, if you have ano lang ha, let me know if you have
I'm
questions or
interested
comments then.
in may mga questions tayo on
Mm.
chat panel, no? Like si Grace asked, I think design thinking is a more expensive smart due to more
Mm.
time to spend
Mm.
Oh,
in both the designer and learners. Am I right? Yan.
Ayun na nga.
magandang argument yan.
Oo.
IPP Irene. And there's a model that I share whenever I run design thinking training. Kasi with design thinking, you're really gonna spend a lot of time on the uncertainty in the beginning phase.
Right.
But
Correct.
there are more chances of winning in the latter phase. Versus sa latter phase ka nagkakanda, worry because you're not sure if they're going to deliver a solution that's gonna work.
Agree.
Right? Oh, sige, mag-spend ka less time. Sige, let's do TNA, let's look at data, etc. And then you design the program. Pero later on, nakita mo walang nag-enroll. People are not applying, what they're learning. They're not actively participating. Versus, you spend more time on understanding in the beginning phase where you really truly understand your learners. You work with them, get their feedback all the time. So later on, mas may chances na less effort ka na in the delivery nila engagement. And mas assured ka na mas i-go through nila yung program, it's really gonna be valuable to them. Pero yeah, it can be time consuming. That's why minsan, people choose not to use it.
Right.
Ang tanong siguro, when are you going to stop? Understand. Parang
Mm.
ganun. Kasi parating meron ano yan.
Merong
Diba?
feedback.
Oo.
Pero
Good.
if you have a core audience, di ba, parang you only have to do it once or a couple of times. And then, if yun yung core audience mo, then your succeeding programs, again, depende sa situation. If
Yeah.
it's more on you have different sets of audience, yes, medyo time consuming siya. And that would be a consideration. It is a valid consideration. We don't disagree, pero may benefits din talaga when you use it. Ayan. Yes, how do external training providers, according to Grace, like PSTD, apply design thinking in their training programs? So, depende rin, no, where you are na in that stage. Sa PSTD, we have ongoing programs. So, we also bank on the feedback that we receive from our learners and the assessors of performance kasi nga our programs usually and certification programs, meron yang mga output. So, based on those, then we would check if there's a need to iterate yung design and delivery ng program. Ayun.
Yeah.
Yes, easier to do if in-house. Yes, Kevin, 'di ba? Totoo kasi the knowledge of your end users or learners would come from the same space. Si Ka-tropa Louie, may shinare siya. Nag-deliver daw siya ng sales training program for sales executive selling pandesal enhancer. Sarap. I had to accompany them for 2 days. Yes, naglako ka ng pandesal, Louie.
Kumain din siya siguro ng pandesal.
Masarap yun ah.
Gusto ko yun. Sana ganun.
Oo.
It
Lupa.
ended up with him tweaking more than half of the material, creating new scripts. Pero 300% increase in sales in just 30 to 60 days after training. 'Di ba? Yes, more time consuming. Sino bang may ayaw ng 300% increase in
Yeah,
sales?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point na if you really spend time on truly understanding, the needs from the learner's perspective, diba? It would
Yes.
really be more impactful.
Ako actually, I used to work for an org, no? One of the biggest accounts was healthcare. And we used to talk about empathy a lot. Mahirap yun ituro, ano?
Yeah.
Oo. Pero meron kaming section ng training, IPP matatawa kasi talagang susuotan ka ng crutch or ilalagay sa sling yung arm mo or naka-gauze yung eyes mo. Tapos pag iikutin ka in a safe space and so you find that difficulty, no, na parang ang hirap pala maglakad pag naka-crutch or ang hirap pag wala kang makita. And it teaches you empathy in a way that no lecture ever could. Ayun. And then
Sa,
so those are some of the
well,
ways you could do.
most of the technical skills program that we run, ganun din. Kailangan
Mm-mm.
ikaw mismo na user experience. I mean, yeah, perspective ng user. No? So, kailangan ma-experience mo kung ano yung na-experience din ng patient.
Yeah.
Para and even the learners, no? Para malaman mo kung how best to teach them. So that's empathy. Kaya sabi ko, paborito ko yung empathy interviews, empathy mapping. Kasi minsan, lalo ako, no, traditional,
Yes.
yan, di ba? And tama si Marbs kanina, hindi na siya ganun ka-effective. And you will realize programs not being attended to by your employees anymore, di ba? So bakit? Kasi nga dahil hindi dun sa perspective at dun sa paano nila, preference, no? Learning preference that they want, they want, how they want to learn. So I think isa yun sa magiging challenges ng isang trainer, no? Isang talent development practitioner in developing the program. Kailangan maalala ng learners kung ano yung yung learning and ma-apply kanina 'di ba, parang yun yung isa sa mga gusto nating mangyari. Kailangan ma-apply kasi yung business side
Yes.
naman AM, 'di ba? So
Yes.
always a challenge. How do we now make sure that the decision makers would also approve, 'di ba, yung mga training programs natin?
Yeah.
Ipa-experience nyo rin sa kanila. That's one. If there's like a short prototype version you can run, if it's powerful enough, they will buy in.
We have one program we are running, and that's what it's empathy. It's empathy interview that we're doing. May iteration every time na may batch may ginagawang changes kasi parang hindi yun yung effective way. No? So now we're more stable. Kaya ako tinanong kanina, Mark, kailan ba tayo titigil na?
Oh yeah.
Diba? Kailan ba nakaka-iterate? Yun. Right.
Correct. So my take on that is it depends. It can be it can be time bound. Diba? For example, dapat in the next 6 months meron na tayong minimum viable product, right? you have already your working solution. So it can be time bound. And then the other one is the number of revisions, right? Especially if this is, this is a project. So let's say after 6 months, whatever we have, we can launch it na muna and then get insights from there. The other one is when we produce this kind of features, ito na muna yung gagamitan natin. And then we work with it, and then just continuously. Kasi, yeah, that's true. The race din sa amin yan when we're running programs. Kailan ka mag-stop? Kasi nga, it really allows you to listen and laging may bagong feedback na ibibigay yung mga
Ay, hindi siya
engineers.
nawawala.
Hindi
Yes.
siya mawawala, which is somewhat a good thing, right? Because those are your opportunities for improvement. Take a look at how your apps are asking you for feedback. When you book something in Grab, 'di ba? After nun, laging mayroon ka bang feedback, ganyan. Because that's how they will learn, that's how they will, make their new features. So yung features ng mga bagong apps ngayon, they actually came from our feedback, from the users' feedback. So talagang hindi siya mag-i-end. And I think that's also the kind of mindset that we have to embrace as an organization. Getting insights from their people and using those insights so that we could improve our policies, our systems, etc., etc. But in terms of project implementation, yun, time bound, and then the features that you have decided on, I guess, just to get it moving.
Yes. Maraming advocates no for design thinking and sharing experiences and thoughts here in chat. Gusto ko lang highlight kay Ka-tropa Kevin. Do you want to spend more time understanding your learner, or do you want to spend more time begging people to avail of a training they don't want to join? So maglalaan na rin tayo ng oras, piliin natin kung saan natin ilalaan, 'di ba? Yung mas malaki yung return. I have a real Marby, like a more practical slash technical question on, let's say, as you try to adopt, these principles of design thinking, and one of the first things you do is you map your personas, diba? If you really want to go that, like, what are your learner personas? One of the challenges is, okay, paano pag may lumabas na limang personas, for example? Does that mean I create 5 different versions of the same program? Ganun ba yun?
Good question.
Baka ito yung perspective na mahal. Kasi nga, you have to, personalize the approach.
Correct. So, yeah, not necessarily. Just a quick answer to that is not necessarily. But I think that's where your analytical thinking comes in as a designer, is for you identifying, meron bang mga common denominator with, the things that we, and then I think what's also important is kung establish mo na yung mga learner personas mo, so you go back to them, get their inputs, get their inputs, so that you could gather different perspectives instead of assuming na ito would work for all those personas. Okay, but later on you'll realize na okay, maybe not necessarily gagawa ka ng 5 different programs, but maybe itong component na to ng iyong activity would address the need of someone who's, for example, older, who's going through the program, and therefore they would need a buddy to go through the system. Meron kang component na may buddy system in the program, but for your other learners, wala na, or i-mix mo yung mga learners na yun. So not necessarily, but you could get those insights and then use it later on for designing your solution, whether a training program or something else.
Thanks, Marbs. Kay Ka-tropa Ed, pwedeng pa-unmute please? Pa-explain please nung tanong.
Context.
Ano yung tanong?
Tanong nyo, how helpful is it?
Hindi kasi laging sinasabi matagal yung yung design thinking. Will it help kung meron kang like a clear project timeline, at saka yung when is information substantial? Kasi totoo naman actually na pwede kang maging matrap sa analysis paralysis kasi laging may pumapasok na bagong data. So will it be like is it kailangan ba talaga ubusin mo yung available information, or will you be able to say na I have enough information and then I can move on.
Yeah.
Yun yung ano.
Well, there are different ways to do that, Sir Ed. If you are really very strict, for example, you're looking at thousands of employees. So, baka kailangang mag-set ka ng sample ng ano mo, 'di ba, ng percentage mo on how much data you're gonna get. Pero for example, if it's a smaller program and there's just a few people who are going to be participating in a certain program, then siguro yan you could get as much. So it is a decision that the project team has to make. Okay, so for example, kung 1,000 employees ba, do you want to get maybe 10 to 20% of the population's insight? So that's something that you have to decide on as an organization. Or minsan, pag may mga projects kami, minsan yung mga stakeholders namin, yung mga clients namin would say, sige, whatever we gather in let's say 3 weeks, that's it. Meron din naman ganun. So kahit dalawa lang yon, whatever insights, oh sige, that's what we will work on. So I guess it really depends on,
Baka nga it helps na gano'n. Halimbawa, 2 weeks and this much information. Let's
yeah,
say 2 weeks and 10 people. Parang gano'n. Para meron ka naman target kasi madaling ubusin
correct.
yung 2 weeks eh. Oo.
Correct. So again, it can be time bound, it can be numeric. So you have
Oo.
to decide on that as you are initiating the project.
Kasi I can imagine bakit si Louie, given yung dami ng ginajuggle na design yan. You use
Correct.
design thinking. You have to, what do you think, Louie? Like, meron kang time frame na binibigay for the analysis phase, di ba? For developing your target participants sa persona.
Ako, basta sa akin, at least 1 full day or 2 days. It's either I use focus group discussions. If it's really hard skills, like yung sales training, I do my observations, which is really part of design thinking. Ito alam ni Irene, noong 2015, Irene, nag-train the
I was
trainer
about to
ako.
say niya. Yeah.
So what I did was to observe yung mga nurse
Siya.
educators sa St. Luke's. I really observed for 2 full days, no? Yung pag-conduct ng first aid training, bedside nursing care, no? Parang di ako mapakali if I don't see participants in action kasi it's easier to design when you know where they're good at and
Exactly.
they also need more help. So sa akin, ang rule ko, 1 full day, 2 full days, it's just, I look at the set of participants, who will I observe, who do I need to speak with, no?
Mm.
That's a good, that's a good
Yeah.
technique, di ba? Yung observation. Saka yung FGD, that's empathy interview nga, di ba? Because when you do, you ask them also, you can convert it as such. You ask them yung pain points, right? Ayan, si Marbs kasi, nag-run na rin sa amin yan ng, design thinking because we have, sa hospital, may mga top challenges na identified na recurring. And
Right.
yun. And nakatulong yun sa pag-develop ng prototypes. Not even the participants were able to identify even before that. So parang na-realize lang nyo nga nung pumunta sila dun sa mga
And users natin,
end
diba?
users, oo, at tinanong nila, mga kasama nila yun sa trabaho. Pero never nilang naisip yun gawin. So magandang technique approach, ang design thinking to determine and to help us design the learning.
Yes.
That's true.
Ang bilis talaga ng oras, ano. We have some questions from FB. Let's pick one. Sige. How do we sorry, kasi we have a question on using like what's the best framework to use. This is from Liza Fahatin. If you're given a short time to develop and implement, big head count, what's the best approach or framework to use? I think we covered that already. If it's really, really quick, you can use some and incorporate elements of design thinking. How do we get feedback? From Miss Lourdes Sare, how do we get feedback if the program we are implementing is being understood? like onboarding of new employees. Meron bang ibang ways, Marby, aside from just your standard post-experience survey? Is there other ways people can get feedback on an onboarding program, for example?
Well, if you're going to use design thinking, then you can use na the tools. Like for example, doing an observation. Okay, empathy
Mhm.
observation.
Correct.
So as you go through, so pwede ka mag-participate as a new hire yourself. Diba? As a new
Yes.
hire, ano yung pinagdadaanan nila. And ikaw mismo, you could empathize with them. Ay, parang ang boring pala nung presentation part. Okay, ikaw mismo check mo na, uy, exciting pagka merong mga gamified activities. Exciting when they get to meet other people. Pero pagka may mga pinanood na ng mga policies, parang dragging pala nun. So, so you could also use that as your tool. Okay, empathy observation yung ginagawa namin doon. Like for example, meron kaming project with another government agency. Ang project nila, they want to improve yung mga online application systems nila. And they think, it's the best. But when we did our empathy observations, guess what? Sila mismo, ang hirap pala nung application system namin. Ang dami palang jargon nito. So now, nagdi-discuss sila with their lawyers and all that. Kailangan nating i-improve to. Kasi sila mismo, naka-empathize sila ngayon with their with their users. Paano yung mga, 'di ba, mga senior mo na applicants? Wala na. You already created this barrier for them. Yeah. So empathy observation, I think, is super super powerful. And what I like about it is kaya mong i-observe yung gestures ng mga end users mo. 'Di ba? Kita mo,
Yeah.
inaantok na sila. They might say training is so good. Pero kita mo on your on your observation, inaantok-antok sila. So, 'di ba? Iba pag talaga as Louie mentioned kanina, talaga iba pag andun ka, nakikita mo.
Yes.
So
Thank
that's
you,
it.
Marby. We've hit our time actually. Any last, words of encouragement to those who wish to adopt design thinking principles?
Yes, yeah. So I think parang yung nag-emerge na theme is it's medyo matrabaho. And yes, it is. It is really more matrabaho because you are, preparing for something more valuable, something more effective. Okay, so ang suggestion ko, so that you don't overwhelm yourself, if you're a designer, is pick maybe one or two tools. Kaya ako, I gave just 3 tools. So at least maybe kahit yung user persona mapping muna, yun muna yung gawin mo. And then in your next project, magkaroon ka na ng user journey mapping, etc. Take it one step at a time. Okay, but ultimately, when you use a human-centered approach in addressing challenges at work, it's going to be more impactful and will make your learners or your employees feel that you welcome their ideas, their perspectives, and what they really prefer. So that's it. Thank you, AM.
Thank you, Marby. IPP, Irene, any encouragement then for our viewers today?
Well, if you want our programs to be attended to, maging blockbuster, kanina si Menchu may sinulat siyang, may mga programs sa blockbuster. So pag-aralan natin, bakit pa blockbuster? Siguro kasi yun yung need nila, na na-address natin talaga yung need nila. And we have found, design thinking concepts and solution to be effective in being able to, come up with a design of a program na mag-hit dun sa kailangan ng learner. So, yeah, if you need help, then we have the people here who can be able to help. Yeah, that's all.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, IPP. I think it's very simple, even in human interactions, the more I think a person understands me, the more I pay attention, the more I think that they know what I'm going through, the more I'm gonna listen to what they're saying. And it's as simple as that. Make your learning kind of just multi-sensory and just
Right.
involving as much of your learner as possible. And I hope today marami kayong napulot. Actually, kahit hindi marami, you picked up 1 or 2 things that you can immediately try pagbalik ninyo sa inyong mga workspaces. And we will continue our design and development series then next episode with how to construct your 70-20-10 learning experience.
Anxiety. Magagamit ba
Thank
sa
you.
design thinking dyan?
Yes. All right. And I know baka gutom na kayo, so let's have our photo taken.